Hi all, I have another fantastic game choice from David Grosvenor. So this is Leela ID 11131 playing against Ethereal 10.88. The opening book given to both is the French defense. This line, Bishop G5, this is the end of the book. So what does Ethereal choose here? The time limit is the Fast and Furious, 40 moves per 2 minutes with a 2-second increment per move. Now, Ethereal chooses the McCutcheon variation. So Bishop B4, Wiki has something to say about this variation. It was used when McCutcheon defeated the world champion William Steinitz in a similar exhibition in Manhattan in 1885. So yeah, it is a variation also used by the likes of Victor Korchnoi, who many consider one of the greatest exponents of the French defense. And in fact, we do follow a very interesting Kasparov-Korchnoi encounter. Well, it actually ended in a draw, but we follow that for some time here. E5, H6, Bishop E3. Now, this is the second most popular choice in Livebook. For those theoretically interested, Bishop D2, this line after taking Knight E4, Queen G4, has a bit of quirkiness to it because White is volunteering the king not to castle, but this is thought to be an even position. And you might think, well, maybe that's why Bishop E3 is quite popular, because it avoids that and relies more on a tactical concept to do with C3, not actually defending C3 here, but counter-attacking G7. And King F8 is played here. An alternative G6, A3, for example, this line, is very interesting for White, and it has some similar ideas to the game, so I won't spoil that there. White's got good prospects here for this kind of gambit, which we do see in the main line of the game anyway. So Queen G4, King F8. We have now, yeah, it's too dangerous for Black to take here. You might think, well, it's discovered check time and stuff. After Queen takes, this is okay for White. C3. Here, it's a clear advantage to White. Just yeah, very, very nice position for White there. So Black really needs to address G7. So either G6 or King F8, but King F8 is chosen here. A3, Bishop takes, B takes, and now Ethereal is a naughty materialistic engine who hasn't studied Victor Korchnoi games. In particular, Korchnoi playing Black against Kasparov didn't play this greedy knight takes C3, but Korchnoi played C5. He was made of tough stuff, Korchnoi, and this led to a draw in that topical game. I think this was the sequence with Queen A5, Queen A5 facilitated by that C5, and Kasparov basically had nothing in the position to speak of, really, nothing interesting to play with. In this position here, yeah, it's not very interesting for White. The dynamics have really kind of evaporated. It was agreed a draw here. But in this game, the greedy Ethereal engine plays knight takes C3. And this is a really dangerous gambit, because this pawn wasn't that significant anyway. So Black has technically got the extra pawn. The king's been misplaced though. So you could imagine White's got some compensation just intuitively. We have Bishop D3, B6. Yeah, on Knight E2 you might think taking on E4. But actually this is the best way. Knight E2 it seems. Then taking, but not taking with the queen immediately, just this. And this is a way of getting a nice advantage, which I've checked out for those theoretically interested. This is a nice road to an advantage here. White's got great compensation here. The bishop's locked out a bit. Yeah, the d file is White's here. This is interesting for White here. Let's just check that out again. Yeah, because if you had just snapped off this pesky knight, getting a pawn back, Queen D5, it looks like an even position. Yeah, opposite coloured bishops. This should be fairly even, so there's nothing really to write home about there. Okay, so let's go back. So knight takes c3, bishop d3, b6 was played though. And that does seem logical to extinguish the light square bishop, rob white of the bishop pair. White plays h4, so Leela plays h4, bishop a6. And Leela's not worried about double pawns here, rook h3. h5 is played. We have queen f4, queen e7. And now rook f3, king g8. And now knight h3, so the knight's going to go into that nice g5 square. And Leela's really doesn't care about the double pawns here. In fact, they have the virtue now. This happens, but this knight's not getting back to the center. It's kicked to Siberia, really. Both of these pesky knights hang around on the queen side now. Yeah. Ethereal needs to be punished. It's just too cheeky. It needs to be punished from this position. Its king looks a bit dodgy. The rook doesn't look ideal. The rooks are not connected. These knights just on the A file. So Leela starts with king f1, rook c8, king g1. And now black dare not play c5 here, by the way. It plays c6, the meek c6. You might be wondering why. Because, look, the queen's on a4 here. Bang. Hitting a4. So black doesn't want to lose a piece. Also, black could lose a piece like this because of that loose rook, because the rooks, of course, are not connected. So white would have a big advantage in either case. So it's the meek c6, knight g5, rook c7 is played. f6 doesn't do anything as a counter gambit, by the way. This position is just pretty hopeless as a counter gambit. Just that traps the knight, for example. Black can't do that with that knight, and can't really allow this kind of thing. So it would be ridiculous, this counter gambit, just to rule that out totally. So f7 is under fire. So we have rook c7 protecting f7. So g4 is a key move. It's one of the moves which really guarantee an advantage, and this has the approval of the way to go by Stockfish 9 in this position. It vindicates the entire gambit. I think it's just a non-controversial, clear advantage to white after g4. The mechanics, just intuitively, from what I gather from the variations, basically this pawn is a battering ram after g4, and it seems black ends up worse now. So knight b2, last bit of annoyance from this pesky knight. On d3, we have bishop d2 protecting d3. If white did play this, amusingly, even this isn't losing. White's position is so good that even this isn't losing for white, apparently. Here, for example, this line is even. But anyway, no, protecting that pawn, a little bit of interruption is tolerated. Queen e8, and now g takes, rook takes. This pawn's got mobility, and this is a loose piece at the moment. We see queen g4 targeting it, rook h8. We see now rook c2, and this is not just hitting the knight back to Siberia with the other knight over here, but later this f-pawn could move and this rook could swing over to the g-file one day. Yeah, just wait for that to happen. We have the battering ram now, h5, ready to be used. h5, knight b8, and now h6. It's beautiful. It's Stockfish 9 approved, and yeah, it's nearly a form pawn as well, isn't it, after g6? Form pawn. What more can you want? It's a battering ram at the moment, though. So black eliminates it. You might think, well, knight d7, keeping that battering ram there, it does mean white's just crashing through, though, that's the thing, because this hits the rook with the bishop, for example, and it's absolutely disastrous. The rook f8 check is even threatened there. So that's no good. You might think g6. Then we have got the form pawn. Check. And here queen f4 is pretty vicious. For example, like this is terminal. You might think, hold on a sec. King f8 there. Queen f6. And then the rook's dropping off. That's not good either. So really, it should be eliminated. This pawn, it is eliminated to maximize the survival chances, but knight takes f7, hits h6, rook takes, so white's just won the exchange. Has black's greediness from earlier meant that the exchange up is nothing much to write home about here? Well, the rook can't take on f3, by the way, because the queen takes g7, mate. So we see knight d7, rook g3, and get ready for it. This f-pawn is ready to roll, which means rook cg2 is now on the cards. Knight f6 is played really desperate, because rook cg2 is a killer, an absolute killer. This is intensifying the pressure on g7 to the maximum. Just moving this pawn. Not about f5, it's about switching the rook primarily. If c5, as an example, switch to rook and just crash through, bishop takes g7, this position is just, it's 2 exchanges up, and this is a tactical sequence which sort of gets black in zugzwang, basically, with the knights. The knights are eventually going to get into zugzwang. Here is a longer line from here, where the knights, the pawns don't really mean anything. The rooks threaten to sort of checkmate the black king. The knights clinging on to each other for dear life in this variation. Eventually it's a zugzwang until this, and they fall apart. So black gets dismantled. So yeah, f4 introduces the switching of the rook, and that's terminal here. Knight f6, e takes, just so this is desperate, just giving up a piece. Queen h5, we have king f8. Doesn't matter about taking here, there's just king h2 and then taking here, because now, for example, there's check and mate there. So yeah, we have king f8, bishop g5, g6, and the game ended here, adjudicated as a win for white. It could continue. Check, for example, here, that check, rook takes c5. White can afford to do that, because there's if queen takes, there's queen h8, otherwise there's queen takes e6. Both are pretty crushing. So let's just carry on with this fictional sequence. It's just murderous. Yeah, this fictional sequence there, but I'll take you back to where the game ended, and let's draw some conclusions. Conclusion 1, it's good we have the cautionary memorial frequently. He is one of the greatest exponents of the French defence, and this game is one of the hidden secrets of this McCutcheon variation. Cautionary was not greedy, it seems, but played c5 with the idea of queen a5, trying to keep things pretty constrained for white, with forcing sequences to give white absolutely nothing like he did against Kasparov. So that's lesson number 1, respect cautionary in the French defence. Lesson number 2, greedy Ethereal, again being totally slaughtered after winning the pawn, 2 knights in Siberia. The h-pawn battering ram emerged after g4. Stockfish 9 approval. It's all pretty sound. It's all in white's favour after that. There's actually, I would say, no defence possible. If you think there's a defence after g4, I'll refute it. But if you want to post it to the comments of the video, be my guest. I think, as far as I see, it's totally lost after g4. Black's greed was punished mercilessly, in my view. So if you want to play this McCutcheon, check out the cautionary games. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.